Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, July 21st, 2025 session of the City of Lake Forest City Council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Certainly. Honorable Mayor Tack.
Here.
Alderman No.
Here.
Alderman Powers.
Here.
Alderman Levert.
Here.
Alderman Bosfeld.
Here.
Alderman Weber.
Here.
Alderman Walder.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on tonight's agenda is comments by mayor, and we will begin with a resolution of sympathy for former mayor John E. Jack Preschlack. Whereas on behalf of the city of Lake Forest, the city council expresses its profound sadness at the loss of John Jack E. Preschlack at the age of 92 on June 26, 2025. And whereas Jack Preschlack leaves a lasting legacy as someone who deeply cared about the city of Lake Forest, the people, the places, and the quality of life. And whereas Jack and his beloved wife, Lynn, brought their family to the city of Lake Forest in 1977, along with their three children, John, Jim, and David, became champions for the community, recognizing their good fortune at calling Lake Forest home. The best community in the country, as Jack would often say. Whereas Jack Preschlack served as a Plan Commission member from 1980 to 1986, and its chairman from 1984 to 1986, as a First Ward alderman from 1990 to 1996, and as mayor of Lake Forest from 2002 to 2005, and whereas under his leadership and as a result of his passion to ensure that Lake Forest long remains a special community, many important initiatives were advanced, including, but not limited to, the acquisition of land on Route 60 for Town Line Park after a successful referendum, adoption of various code amendments clarifying and strengthening provisions related to the preserving the community's character, and evaluation of the city's infrastructure, and established ongoing funding for maintenance and upgrades, discussions of affordable housing to continue the city's tradition of maintaining a wide variety of housing projects, and advocating for support of the ultimately successful referendum on home rule. And whereas Jack's service to the community went beyond city-appointed and elected positions, he was a founding member of the Lake Forest Day Foundation, enthusiastically committing time and energy to supporting the American Legion by raising private funds through various community events and efforts to ensure that the beloved community tradition, Lake Forest Day, would be enjoyed and celebrated by future generations. And whereas Jack took immense pride in Lake Forest, he wore his passion for the community on his sleeve and never stopped caring about the community, even years after he and Lynn moved away. Whereas Jack Preschlack will long be remembered for his love for his family, his service to the community, his appreciation for his colleagues in elected and appointed positions, his respect for and confidence in city staff, and for his interest in ensuring that Lake Forest residents now and in the future enjoy the opportunities and treasures the community offers. And whereas Jack made a positive and long-lasting difference in the city of Lake Forest, we are grateful and will long remember him. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Forest, in session on July 21st, 2025, hereby expresses its deep regret and sincere sympathy to the members of the Preschlack family. Be it further resolved that this resolution be appropriately inscribed and conveyed to the Preschlack family and spread upon the permanent record of the Lake Forest City Council. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is comment from the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Good evening. I have two items under my report this evening. The first item is a spotlight on Dickinson Hall, which, as you know, falls underneath the umbrella of the city's recreation department, but is home to Lake Forest's senior services programming. And so with us tonight is Tricia Schwal, the Senior Resources Manager, who's joining us to highlight just some of the work that her and her team are doing to support our local senior population, and whether it be programming, in-person activities, or critical social services. The variety of offerings and support provided at Dickinson is really expansive, and it is a team effort. Their support, the staff team is supported by our Senior Resources Commission, the Senior Foundation, but it really is impressive, again, what is offered to our senior population, and yet a lot of times I think it's a bit unknown to those in the community. So I've invited Tricia here to help share their story, and with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council, and I thank you for this opportunity to share what we do at Dickinson Hall. As most of you know, the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Senior Center resides in the building Dickinson Hall, and we are currently called Dickinson Hall. We're dedicated to supporting the members of our communities, both Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, aged 50 and older. I'm so sorry. So the Senior Center started in the late 60s in the Recreation Center and moved over to Gorton in the 70s. And then there were a couple little spots that they came into. And then back in 1999, the Dickinson Hall was purchased by, the campus there was purchased by the city. And so with the help of our foundation, they renovated about $2 million into Dickinson Hall to have the Senior Center move in 2000. We offer wellness, education, social. Social is probably one of our biggest ones, along with support and transportation for all of our seniors in the Lake Forest and Lake Bluff communities. Our staff, I can't even tell you that my staff is amazing. We have 5 of us on staff. We do everything from washing dishes to putting on a pretty good show. So we do have a senior advocate on staff, as well as 2 programming, our administrative assistant, who is also our transportation coordinator. And we couldn't do it without them. They are very dedicated, they're compassionate, and they really love what they do. And I think that is a very important part of what we do there at the Senior Center. This is just a snapshot of what we have. For 2025, we ended with 1,004 members, over 1,500 programs, classes, and events, over 1,000 local rides, and over 300 people that received support from our social services program. And I'll go into each one of these in a moment to kind of cover them. So our membership, I kind of went back a little farther because in 2020, we ended with 1,003 members, and then of course the pandemic hit. So we did better than most of our colleagues in the area in retaining our membership through that period of time. But as you can see, we have slowly grown our membership, and we did end last year with 1,004. We're on target to reach about a 3% increase for this fiscal year, FY26. And one of the driving forces for our gain in membership has been we have a much more dynamic marketing. We do have our great marketing team for the city that is doing wonders for helping us get the word out and getting people to understand who we are and what we do. We have a great big amount of aging baby boomers, so that has really helped in our favor of getting our growth up. We do have some really dynamic programming, so I don't know if any of you have read our brochure or gone to our website, but our programming department, little group of girls, do a really good job at getting some really diverse programming in there. Our staffing, as I said earlier, we just have a really dynamic team who really care about what they do, and they're there to make sure that the seniors in our community are very well taken care of, and they understand, and they're very well liked. So, and I think one of our biggest things is word of mouth. We have so many of our seniors that we get new members in, and when we ask them why they came, oh, my neighbor's been telling me I should join, and so I'm finally joining. We had a woman come in the other day, and she said, my aunt's been coming here for years, and she keeps telling me to come, and so here I am. So some of the challenges that we're going to face if we continue to grow is our building is a beautiful, beautiful building, but we're going to eventually probably need to build on that space. Our staffing, we are kind of stretched thin with the 5 of us. Our visibility, as I think I've talked here before, getting the word out to what we do and who we are and all that stuff to individuals still tends to be a problem of people coming in and saying, I had no idea you were here. I've been here for this long in the city and I have no idea. And then as a city, we have a lot of options. There's a lot of places for people to go and to get out of their homes and to be able to socialize with their friends. So that's, of course, one of our, driving challenges that has. We have currently 824 members. We start our new fiscal year at the same time the city does, so May 1st was the start of our new year. Out of those, we have 68% of them are from Lake Forest. About 21% are Lake Bluff. We have 11% that come from outside of the Lake Forest, so our non-residents. We also saw 123 new members so far this year, which is a record for us at this time of the year. Our average age is about 78, and we have about a 66% active membership. So we really do pretty good in our membership. Programming, as I said, we have over 1,500 programs a year. Those are sometimes reoccurring. Some of our games and our games and our events happen all the time, every year, every day. We have an average of 267 visitors per week, and that is just on an average. So on a week like last week where we had several programs and we had our big Friday Night Live, we probably saw well over that. Our most popular programming is our events, our lectures, and our games. Our games are like our community. They meet while they're playing euchre, and then next thing you know, they're going out to lunch together and doing things together. So it's really kind of a unique opportunity for them to get to know people and socialize. And as you can see up there, that's basically a lot of our programming is our trips, our classes and lectures, our events, which are usually once a month. We have some large event, a party, a holiday party. Our games are very popular. Our fitness program, we have a lovely instructor who is really good with the population. We do have massage therapy and podiatry that also is there at Dickinson Hall. Next is our transportation. So we have currently one sedan that has about 100 or 200,000 miles on it. So I think that's on Omnibus tonight for our new vehicle. And we have a 14-passenger bus that we use to take our members to trips. We do have a fixed transportation program. So we have 5 drivers on staff. They drive once a week. Each one has their own day of the week. And they pick people up in Lake Forest, Lake Bluff. It can be a senior over 55 who no longer is able to drive. It can be just they're not able to drive because they just had surgery, but for the most part, it's mostly individuals who have given up their license or just have never really gotten into the driving aspect of it. We also have, it is also available for our individuals in the city that are disabled and cannot drive. So there's 5 days a week that we just added our 5th day. We have 39 participants who use it, and last year we drove 873 times. So the transportation program for Dickinson Hall has been in place since 1993. And it is they just call and schedule a ride to and from. Sometimes it's just one way, sometimes it's both. And it is, as you can see up there, most visited is us, of course, the hospital, doctor's appointments, and grocery shopping. Those are the biggest things, but we have had people just call and ask us to drive them from their house to a friend's house to play cards. So it's a well-used service. We also have, because we only go within the city limits, within the high school district, we have volunteers that we can utilize in after hours or outside of our boundaries. And with the help of our foundation, who gives a grant to a service called Faith in Action, they just changed their names to Partners. Mark, you got something? Their names? No. So they just changed their names, but it's Faith in Action for a long time, and our foundation gives a grant to them to supply for rides for people who we can't service for one reason or another. And theirs is a little more comprehensive. So if we need somebody to go into a doctor's office, they will help us out. So they're kind of like our little arm outside of what we do there. Social services. For me, social services is a really big part of what we do. We have a senior advocate on staff that is directly financed through the city, but it's through a funding through our foundation again. But so we do have one on staff. She's a full-time city employee. She is available to older adults and their families to help guide them through the many challenging areas of aging. So she has a lot of resources. Some of those resources are finding ways to age in place, finding care for their parents or for themselves at home or for a loved one. We do have, again, with our foundation, we have a scholarship for low-income seniors that she helps with, and we also have funding for emergency if a utility is being shut off and they can't afford it or anything like that. So she has a lot of connections for them for other services. She also helps with being an advocate, so she can get on the phone with their doctor's office, their credit card to help with scams. So she is a very vital part of our team there. So SHIP, Medicare is really big for people who are aging, and it's really confusing, so she's really there for that. She does handle our volunteer transportation program, and she is also part of our lending closet, which our lending closet is available to anybody in Lake Forest or Lake Bluff that needs temporary or permanent wheelchair, walkers, anything like that. They can come and borrow them and return them at any time. So why do we matter? I can stand up here and tell you everything we do about there, but there's, isolation. Depression is a big thing with the seniors, and sometimes we don't know that this is happening. So it is really our chance to be able to get seniors out of their homes when they live alone and they've just lost a loved one and they're on their own. They can come and they meet new people, they meet new friends, they get out of the house. Sometimes when people call and ask us for rides, they'll say we don't want to, they don't want to bother us, and we'd rather them there than not. So they also have much more purpose when they come there. They do feel like they have something to do and something to look forward to. Of course, we have our fitness center, so improving physical health is a really big thing there. To be able to get seniors to participate in that. And it's just overall, I think for the biggest, I can go through all those up there, but I think for the biggest thing is learning and meeting people, being social. They really do grow there. We've known people there that we've been there for 10 years. Most of us have been there for 10 years, and we've seen the same people, and you can see the difference in what we do and how that makes them feel. Day in the life. So I just kind of put this together. It's kind of backtracking through what we've gone through, but our physical wellness, our group activities, our meals and parties. We have adventures, and then our support services are really the core of what we do and what we bring to the seniors in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. Community partnerships. A lot of these, we partner with, Lake Forest Library is the biggest one. We do a book club every two months, and we have recently started our Memory Cafe with the Lake Forest Library. We do it once a month. We have individuals and their care partners come, and it's just a day out for them. Sometimes it's really hard for a care partner to kind of always keep their loved one in doing something when they're in the realms of mental health, Alzheimer's, dementia, any of those things. So we offer that once a month. There's several of them throughout the North Shore. So they sometimes will go to whichever ones just to give them something to do outside of the house. That is our biggest supporter, but most of the other ones up there do programs for us. We have the Lions Club does our vision and hearing. The Chamber, of course, does our awareness and getting us put together. And then American Legion is usually pretty involved in our veterans. Funding and support. Dickinson Hall has has a budget of $749,000. We get 41% of that through the city, and then 13% through Lake Bluff. That covers 3 of our full-time staff and benefits, our salary and benefits for 3 of our full-time staff. The Lake Forest Foundation does 26% of our revenues, and that covers our programming, our transportation, and our senior advocates' salary and benefits. The rest of the 20% for dues and fees and 1% for scholarships rounds out our $749,000 revenue. Looking ahead, we are looking at getting our online registration is coming up. So that is something that we have been kind of looking at for years, and it's always that, do we have a senior that's going to use online registration? But we have moved forward with it. We do believe that with the help of some training, we will be able to get most of our seniors to utilize it, and it will make things a little bit easier for what we have. Expanding programs on health and wellness is always something that we're looking at. Again, transportation, that's a huge part of what we do, so we're looking at different ways to increase our transportation participation. Looking for some new ideas and programming, financial stability, and just keeping our programs running and smoothly, and really pushing out for community engagement and trying to get some of that. So I just have a couple testimonials from some of our members. One woman who called, her father didn't really have anything to do, and ever since she signed him up, he's been coming there a couple times a week. So she is very happy with the fact that he is getting out of the house and doing things and meeting people. We have quite a bit. I mean, our testimonials could have gone on forever, but we do have quite a few members that are very gracious and very thankful for what we do and what we have and what we offer. So I'm going to end this with, we're there to enhance the lives of older adults by promoting wellness, social connection, and lifelong learning. We're fostering a community and reducing isolation and supporting independence, making it a vital resource for the seniors in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Tricia. That was really great to get a summary. I just had one question. Can you share what the #1 reason for non-renewal of membership is?
#1 reason for non-renewal would probably be attrition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something to be said about how you really care for people through that stage of life. So just a big thanks to you and your team.
Thank you.
I have but I have a quick programming question for you. So I know you mentioned you're trying to get more of your folks involved with online signups and things. So have you done a program for online safety and security for them? Because to me, the biggest risk I see of that age group and demographic getting into that is that there's so many problems waiting for them.
So I don't think we've done anything that is particularly aimed towards that. We do have, the police department comes and does a scams program every quarter. So that is trying to keep them in the loop of some of these things that happen, whether it be online, on the phone, in the mail. We probably, our senior advocate probably sees in a month probably 3 to 5 people who call because feel like they've been scammed. It is really unfortunate, and that is one of the areas that she is really good at, being an advocate and helping with calling the bank and getting their information protected as fast as can be. But we are working with the library again to have them come over and do some more of our programming to kind of get people more involved with learning about not just scams, people on the phone. If to be able to do the technology part of it, to be able to get some people on board and knowing what to look for when they get an email or, click on we get it all the time with the city from our IT department, but we don't have that permanent for our seniors.
Okay. Well, again, just an area that I think I might try to put a little more work into because it is ubiquitous. Folks are just inundated with this, and it's getting better and better with AI and harder for people. They have this sense of urgency that they need to do something. Yeah. And the thing they need to do is call somebody at your facility and say, hey, I see this. I'm worried about this. They're going to take my grandchild or whatever. And we need to sort of find a way to do that. And I think you're well positioned to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, and then we will look into it.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Powers.
Tricia, real quick, are you, with the 5 drivers, are you able to adequately manage the popularity of probably some of those times during the day where people are going to the doctor or the hospital or even out to lunch?
So we just recently, last week, added our 5th driver for Wednesdays. We never used to have a Wednesday driver. I think it was just kind of a tradition. Everything was closed on Wednesdays, and so they never did. We do manage them very well. Okay. We have several volunteers to pick up if we need to, but right now we're doing. I think we've always been able to get people their rides.
That's great.
Sometimes it's a little tricky. Some days are a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, Tricia. My second item under my report, included in your omnibus agenda tonight, is a request for approval of a retention grant by our police department. And I think everyone knows that across the country there are significant recruitment challenges that exist within the law enforcement industry. That certainly puts an increased emphasis on the need to retain our own talent. And I know in his first year on the job, that has been a high priority for our Chief of Police, John Burke. And to his credit, he was able to find and obtain a one-time bonus retention grant through the state, which is a really creative program that importantly is at no expense to the community and to Lake Forest taxpayers. So while it's on your omnibus agenda, I thought I would just ask John to highlight on a quick slide the sort of nuts and bolts of the program and give him kudos for his ability to obtain the grant. So, Chief?
Thank you. Mayor Tech, members of the City Council. So there was a grant available in December of last year, which we applied for funding for. In the application, we asked for just over $142,000. So the grant was for recruitment or retention or both. We're going to use it for retention. We're tackling recruitment on our own through different means. So retention, what we've decided to do, and in the application, was give a one-time 3.5% bonus for each officer, sergeant, and commander And upon receiving those funds, they're going to stay employed with the City of Lake Forest for the next 36 months. So it gives us stability. The job market for candidates in law enforcement right now is extremely competitive. I checked online this morning. There's a popular website called the Blue Line. If you're looking for a job in law enforcement, that's where everybody goes. There's over 90 departments looking for candidates right now, so it's very cutthroat. There are certain departments that are offering bonuses for candidates that have experience. If you're a state certified officer, to come to your police department, it's easy to move your pension from one place to another nowadays. So we're just trying to stay ahead of the game. This grant gives us the ability to keep our officers engaged and employed here while we fill out the rest of our ranks. We have 1 in field training right now who is a lateral, 2 in the academy, which puts us at 39. We're looking to get to 40 to 41 soon. So this was just an opportunity at no cost to grab some funding to keep people employed.
Perfect. Are any questions of Chief Burke about the program? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Perfect. All right, the next item is opportunity for citizens to address the council on non-agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to address the council on non-agenda items? Okay, please come on up, and if you would, state your name and, if you desire, your address.
My name is Ray Bushman. I live at 977 Kirkhill Lane. Hello. I didn't come tonight for making this observation, but given the opportunity, and thank you for offering public comments, I thought I'd share it as an observation that I think you should take to heart. As you recall, you recently dealt with the cell tower issue in establishing sites, both west side and also at the recycling center. And that meeting went forward in the usual fashion, where it was presented by staff. The city council had the opportunity to ask questions of staff, and then it went to discussion and feedback from the citizens. And I think there are at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. I wasn't here that night, but I did watch it on the cable program. But an observation was made not only by me, but by others. After the presentation by the public, it raised some significant questions, like why didn't they look forward to future technology? Why didn't they answer the question why some people in one area have great service, other people have problems with the service? And also, what's the impact of doing an additional tower at the recycling center? And obviously, they were told that when they make their presentation, it's not a question and answer period. You've heard that. I've heard it too. They get 3 minutes. But when that conversation ended, giving the public the opportunity to speak up and give your opinion, you went straight to the motion. You did not go to deliberations, and that sends a bad message to the public. I wanted to share that with you, and I would suggest when you have the public on a controversial issue, give you that sort of input. Give them respect and respond to it, and try and have deliberations that talk through it. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rami Lopat. I didn't expect to address you tonight, but you made me think of something. 2 weeks ago, I was watching your show, and Jim Lockefear gave a presentation on lead service lines into private homes. And that made me think of my own home being built in 1895. Did we have bad service lines? But before I could even check on that, I found myself down in Highland Park at a client's house, landscaping client, and she started to tell me about how she got a letter from the city of Highland Park / EPA that she has lead service lines. And it was going to be a very costly project for her because her lines run under her asphalt driveway. She has to dig the whole thing up, big problem. But she said that the letter that she received said the city of Highland Park was going to help with the cost of replacing her lines. I don't know if you discussed that. I have no idea, but I'd like you to. You know, you can tell where I'm going with this, I'd like to suggest that you consider it and just clean up this problem. And I wanted to also say that I did check on our house. The city's website made it extremely easy to do so. It took me a little while to even understand that I could do it on your website, our website, but you just put in your address and up pops a GIS map, very cool. And we were safe, but our neighbors were not. And they have newer houses than us, but there you go. So I asked my neighbor about it. He moved in maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3. And he said he was aware and I said, well, were you aware when you bought the house? And he said, no, the seller probably wasn't aware. And that was an odd thing for him to say, right? Why wouldn't the seller know and tell you? Well, then I asked my real estate daughter, and she said, oh, Mom, come on, the checklist on the disclosure form says yes or no. I am aware of the problems of lead. So everybody checks no. So that's why homeowners get stuck with this, and they might not, with an old house, and they might not actually know. So it's really not their fault. And so anyway, I'd like you to consider helping out this problem and making our community safer, faster. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Come on up.
Mayor, council members, thank you. It seems I arrived at the right time. My apologies. Just wanted to convey my gratitude to Dana's team with her wonderful communications, keeping me on board and keeping everybody else I know on board. And then thanking the police and fire. There was an incident near me today, and they were just all amazing. So I'm very grateful to them, even though I wasn't involved, but they were very, very nice about everything and helped out a lot. So that's it.
Well, thank you very much. Are there others that would like to address the council on non-agenda items? Yes, come on up, Mr. Murtis.
Hello, I'm Art Mertes, 450 Washington Road, Lake Forest. Today, I sent to the City Council and the Mayor a lengthy, but not as lengthy as lawyers could be, letter. And the letter outlines a number of things about the issues surrounding the proposed motion that appears later on the agenda and the proposal by Mayor Tack to dissolve the legal committee. Now, I am not going to speak to that in this portion of my 3 minutes because that agenda item is later. What I am looking to speak to is the procedural issues. First of all, I really do want to thank all of you for your service. I do recognize that it is probably many times a thankless job. When I reflect on why I actually care about the issues here, we relocated here from the city of Chicago. We relocated just before the COVID pandemic. I have 2 younger daughters, and I see this community from the lens of a parent of 2 young daughters. One daughter is in the sailing program, both daughters are in sports, and I want to see them have the best, safest, most productive and nourishing life possible here in the city of Lake Forest. Part of that, I believe, is a function, part of the reason that the city of Lake Forest does so well at what it does is because it has a lot of things in place that help to protect our citizens and manage the risk. But what's happened here with the motion that appears later is, I believe, and I've outlined it in certain parts of the letter, there has been a real failure in adhering to the standards and principles of both the strategic plan of the city of Lake Forest that call for transparency and community involvement and engagement, as well as the policymaking principles of the city of Lake Forest. The reason I say this is because of several things. And I recognize that all of us have different views on what is best and what can be better for city government, better for the people of the city of Lake Forest. But the procedural issues involved here stem from activity prior to the first read, which I've outlined in my letter, and I have extra copies as well as one for the minutes of this meeting that I will hand to the dais over there. You know, the legal committee itself was excluded from the commentary process. We were shocked when this was on the agenda of May 5th, only after learning that it was that it had gone through a first read April 21st, 2025. And when you look at the videos, which I did, and I have all to ease your pain of having to go through this, I've included tables to help summarize the issues, because there was never really a level set and the type of level set that would have occurred at a genuine first read. But we did not have that opportunity as citizens, nor as part of the process of the input that should have been able to be provided by the very committee itself that was sought by Mayor Tack to dissolve. And listen, I recognize that Mayor Tack sees this as an efficiency issue. I respectfully disagree on many fronts, and I've outlined those in my letter. Again, I have copies for those of you that are interested. What I am contending here is that I believe that having the second read of that motion is not appropriate under the rules and policies of Lake Forest. Not only that, but Robert's Rules of Order says when a motion is tabled, then it has to be untabled in that meeting or the next meeting. It never was. So now you have this conundrum. And as a lawyer, we look at these things, call it a nuance, but how do you go to a second read when the second read relates to the first read, and you have to have the first read and continuity to the second read, and the continuity is not there? I see a lot of procedural problems. They're greater than just procedural issues in my view, but I'm not here to get into that. I'm here to express that I don't believe it's in the best interest of the city to move forward with the second read today because of the reasons stated in my comments here and in the communication that I provided to the City Council this morning. Thank you.
Like to comment on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next item, which is committee reports. This will be a presentation of the Finance Committee, specifically the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Award. This will be presented by Eileen Luby Weber, Finance Committee Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor Tack. One of the greatest things about being the Finance Committee Chair is the celebration of these awards that are we are continuing to receive year over year. And it's really exciting. So the city has received notification that it has received the Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year 24 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. This achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of government accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment is a significant accomplishment by government and its management. In April of 2025, the GFOA news releases noted that the report has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, which includes demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the report. The city's received this prestigious award for the 46th consecutive year. In addition, the Certificate of Achievement and Award of Financial Reporting Achievement is presented by the GFOA to the individual designated as instrumental in their government unit's achievement of the certificate. I am pleased to present this award to Diane Hall, the Assistant Finance Director. Diane serves as a primary liaison to the city's independent audit firm, Baker Tilly. She coordinates the annual audit process and preparation of the city's annual financial report. The Government Finance Officers Association is professional association founded in 1906, serving the needs for more than 21,000 appointed and elected local, state, federal, and provincial-led government officials in the United States and Canada. GFOA's mission is to advance excellence in public finance. The GFOA awarded the certificate to 4,127 governmental units for fiscal year 2023. In Illinois, 354 organizations received the award, 5% of the total 6,963 units of government in the state. I'd like to give a round of applause and ask Diane Hall to please step up to receive the award. Diane, you'll step up for a photo. Congratulations.
All right. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the city's annual appropriation ordinance. And so at this time, I would like to ask for a motion to open the public hearing on the city's annual appropriation ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Bosfeld,
Yes.
Alderman Weber,
Aye.
Alderman Walther,
Aye.
Alderman Novit,
Aye.
Alderman Oates,
Aye.
Alderman Powers,
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
7 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries to open the public hearing.
Very good. So the item is consideration of the annual appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2025 and approval of rollovers. This is the final reading. This will be presented by Katie Skibby.
Thank you, Mayor Tech. At the June 16th meeting, the City Council granted first reading to the fiscal 26 appropriation ordinance. This evening, we return for formal approval and to hold the required public hearing for final adoption. The appropriations ordinance serves as the legal authority for the expenditure of public funds, while the fiscal 26 budget was adopted in April and serves as the city's administrative spending plan. Tonight's action actually provides the legal framework for expending the funds. It's important to note that the appropriation ordinance differs from the adopted budget in several different ways. The best way to illustrate this is with the worksheet shown on the screen, also included in your packet. Apologies, it's very small. So on the left column, we have all of the city funds. These funds are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles and properly account for restricted fund expenditures. The first column shows the approved fiscal year 26 budget that you all approved in April. From that amount, we deduct the debt payments, since those are already authorized under separate bond ordinances when the debt is issued. And then we add in the rollover amounts. These amounts were originally appropriated in fiscal 25 and either weren't started or weren't completed by year end. Including them ensures that the fiscal year 26 budget is accurate and reflects the true timing of expenses. Additionally, rolling them forward allows us to preserve the authority to spend those dollars in fiscal year 26. A detailed rollover schedule is included in your packet. It lists each item by vendor, project, fund, and amount. This was not included in the June 1st reading. And then the next column adds in the library's budget. While the library is not part of the city's operating budget, it is a component unit in its financial statements and therefore must be included in the appropriation ordinance. The library has a separate board that approves their budget. And then from there, we arrive at a subtotal. To that subtotal, we add a 10% contingency. And this has been a longstanding practice for the city to add this contingency to provide flexibility to respond to unanticipated expenses that were not included in the original budget. Chief gave us an excellent example of this tonight. We received grant funds, and if we had not appropriated over the salary amount that was budgeted, we would not be able to actually provide these funds to the officers. This contingency is not available for departments for regular use. It can only be accessed with city council approval. And then at the bottom of the worksheet, you'll see a line for school district 67. Although the district adopts its own budget and is not subject to the city's appropriation ordinance or process, we are required to include their budget in the city's ordinance as part of our statutory obligations. All of these components lead to the final appropriation amount, which is included in your packet for approval this evening. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions for Director Skibby? Okay. I see none. Thank you. Okay. So let's see what comes next here. All right. So at this time, there's an opportunity for public comment on the annual appropriation ordinance. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this matter? No, and thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Weber?
Aye.
Alderman Walter?
Aye.
Alderman Novit?
Aye.
Alderman Notes?
Aye.
Alderman Powers?
Aye.
Alderman Burt?
Aye.
Alderman Bosfeld?
Aye.
7 yeas, 0 nay. Motion carries.
Okay, very good. And at this time, I'd like to ask for approval of the final reading of the ordinance and the rollovers. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
This would also be a roll call vote.
Alderman Walter?
Aye.
Alderman Novit?
Aye.
Alderman Notes?
Aye.
Alderman Powers?
Aye.
Alderman Burt?
Aye.
Alderman Bosfeld?
Aye.
Alderman Weber?
Aye.
7 yeas, 0 nay. Motion carries.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is items for omnibus vote consideration. I'm going to read the items. If there's any item that an alderman would like taken separately, please let me know and we will remove that. There are 8 items tonight. Item 1, approval of the check register for the period of May 18th through June 30th, 2025. Item 2, approval of an additional 1-year professional services agreement with the Core Automated Merchant Systems, AMS, to provide credit card processing services with the option for early termination. Item 3, authorize the police department to utilize ILET-SB grant funds to award each police officer, sergeant, and commander a one-time lump sum retention bonus of 3.5% of their fiscal year 2025 salary. Item 4, approval of a recommendation from the Public Works Committee to award a bid to Wunderlich Malek for the Spruce and Sheridan Lift Station Control Panel Replacement Project in the amount of $54,800 to include a 5% or $2,740 contingency for a total cost of $57,540. Item 5, approval of a purchase to replace a water and sewer section valve turner to EH Vox in the amount of $94,306. Item 6, approval of a purchase of 2 replacement sanitation section scooters to Russo Equipment for $74,950. Item 7, approval of a purchase of a replacement senior center passenger vehicle to Oleth Ford Sales in the amount of $78,043. And finally, consideration of ordinances approving recommendations from the Building Review Board for 1925 Field Court, 799 Everett Road, 315 Stable Lane, 1196 Sir William Lane. First reading, and if desired by the City Council, final approval. Are there any items that the council would like removed or taken separately?
Just a point of clarification, Jason, regarding the matters of certain items being competitively bid or not, can you clarify that?
Yeah, there was, and I appreciate you asking, Alderman Notes, there was a typo in the write-up for, I believe it was item 7, the replacement scooters for the sanitation. Those were purchased through a joint purchasing cooperative, so they were competitively bid.
Item 6.
6, thank you.
Very good. Okay, are there others? Clarifications? Okay. Seeing none, then I'd like a motion to approve the 8 omnibus items as presented.
So moved.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Nope.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Bosfeld.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walter.
Aye.
7 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. Okay. The next item on the agenda is old business. And there is, the first item is consideration of an ordinance amending the City of Lake Forest Code Section 32095 pertaining to the legal committee, and this is a request for final approval. Before we get into this, I'm going to ask the city attorney if, since a question was raised, are there any outstanding procedural hurdles that we need to overcome before we pursue this topic?
We don't believe so, Mayor.
Okay.
As long as the matter was properly listed on the agenda, which it has been, there's no concern with this being considered under old business.
Very good. Okay. So as I noted, the item under consideration is consideration of an ordinance amending the code pertaining to the legal committee, which basically would dissolve the legal committee. This is the 3rd time this has been discussed in City Council. So much of my commentary on this has already been made, and I'm not going to repeat most of that. I would, as we get started, I'd like to clarify the fact that this is an issue really of efficiency obsolescence and role diffusion. It's not a personal issue, and it certainly is not a commentary on the performance of the people who've been on the committee. In fact, I'd like to thank the volunteers who've participated most recently, including Joy Guscott-Mueller, Arthur Murdas, David Michael, and Paul Sundberg. They, like all of the rest of us, are volunteers, gave of their time, did what was asked of them, and we really do appreciate that. And this consideration has nothing to do with their performance. So that being said, I think we've laid a case out for why we are recommending dissolution of the legal committee. And it is predominantly that a role that it may have once performed, it no longer does because it's redundant. There's numerous issues. The vast majority of municipal legal issues are addressed very competently by professional municipal attorneys who have internal review. Other issues are addressed by IRMA, Illinois Risk Management Association. And then there are third-party litigations that we really have no impact on other than that we sign on to them. It really is not the case, as has frequently been presented, that the legal committee has a role in ethics oversight. It, in fact, does not. It has no role in ethics oversight. So that argument for keeping it and that somehow dissolving the committee would allow us to avoid ethics scrutiny is quite honestly just factually false. And I would make the point that it seems to me that at times we go from not being able to argue facts, so we argue process. And I think the process that we followed is the process that we follow. And it's been very public. And as I said, this is the third reading of this item, so I think that's my introduction. And as we get into comments by aldermen on the issue, I would like to start with Alderman Walther, who I will tell you has, and this is how he is. I mean, you know, Rich doesn't take anything at face value. So something gets presented, he digs into it, he wants to know and understand it. He's put a lot of time and effort into this. From a non-lawyer perspective, he's an engineer by trade, and so I'd like, Rich, for you to start with your commentary on the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The length of my comments will reflect the amount of time that I invested in doing the due diligence. But after the last city council voted to table the agenda item to dissolve the legal committee, the mayor asked us what other information we required in order to make a better informed decision on the amendment. In response to his inquiry, I requested access to past meetings of the legal committee so that I could review for myself the materials that the legal committee are provided, as well as listen to the substance of their discussion and the comments that they offered to staff and legal counsel. In essence, I sought to get a behind closed door view of a typical committee meeting. As a member of the city council, I am permitted access to executive session content. As such, my review included both the open and executive session materials of several legal committee meetings. I randomly selected a meeting from earlier this year and one from last year. City staff then arranged for those recordings to be made available to me, and I listened to those meetings in their entirety. In addition, I conducted the following due diligence. I listened to the legal committee meeting that occurred shortly after our second reading of the ordinance amendment. At this meeting, each member of the committee who was present offered their thoughts on the proposal to disband the committee. I re-listened many times to the city council meeting of May 5th and read the materials that were submitted to the city council this morning, during which a member of the current legal committee and two other Lake Forest residents offered thoughtful remarks on why the committee should be retained, and I also listened carefully to the comments we made here at the dais. I reviewed the language of the ordinance 32.095 extensively, and in particular reviewed the purpose of the legal committee and the city's legal management guide that are referenced therein. I reviewed the written meeting minutes and financial statements from several additional meetings throughout the last 2 years, and I interviewed a number of key participants, including a past chairperson of the legal committee, both Julie Tappendorf and Kurt Osbroth from Ansel Glick, who represent the city as our lead attorney. I also interviewed several city staff members who have attended many legal committee meetings over the many years. Before I go any further, I want to comment on these interviews that I conducted. At no time did I ever ask these individuals to state their position regarding the disbanding or retainage of the committee. Rather, my interview questions focused on two areas. I needed information on the history and the duties of the committee. Secondarily, I requested validation of the observations that I made on my own while listening to the various meeting recordings. It is important to state again that the decision to disband or retain the legal committee is ours as the city council, not members of our city staff. Based on my observations and findings, after executing this extensive due diligence, I am recommending to my fellow city council members that we approve the proposed amendment to section 32.095 and disband the legal committee. I would further offer to my fellow council members that this recommendation need not be viewed as binary to either keep or disband the committee. From review of our May 5th meeting, several of you noted in your remarks, based on your initial review of the materials, that you were prepared to support the amendment. However, comments from the community gave you, and frankly, me too, pause to table the item and complete additional due diligence. When you now consider the matter again, I would like to offer comment on the aspects of the committee that had value and cite where those value attributes are already addressed by City Council or other existing city processes. And where such attributes are not appropriately covered, make a recommendation to you, Mayor, and City Manager Wisha, for how any of those beneficial attributes can be addressed after the legal committee is disbanded. Mayor Tack, in the May 5th meeting, cited several duties of the council, and he mentioned them again this evening, where those duties are duplicative of the legal committee. This includes review of legal billings for appropriateness, which is currently handled by the Finance Committee, and input on settlement or major legal decisions, which will come before the City Council in executive session. He also mentioned that the formation of ad hoc committees for special purposes has been a very effective mechanism for engaging the public, and in particular, qualified resident experts, and that such efforts will be maintained regardless of the outcome of the current amendment proposal. While I do not need to go into these aspects any further, I think the mayor and the council has adequately discussed those. I will note that Ansel Glick represents more than 40 municipalities within the Chicagoland area, and none of their other clients, except Lake Forest, maintains a legal committee. From this, I draw the following conclusion, that those communities have found a way to monitor legal spending and legal issues through their elected officials, which is what we are now proposing for the city of Lake Forest. In fact, returning the role of legal management oversight to the city council reestablishes the structure that existed before the legal committee was formed and is indicated in the city's legal management guidelines. One of the impressions I took away from public comment we heard at May 5th, and which contributed to my willingness to table a motion, was that the legal committee, by virtue of its interactions with the city legal counsel, heightens the performance of counsel and ensures that more thorough consideration of legal matters occur through the questions they ask and the experiences that they share. On its face, this is a very beneficial attribute of the current structure. However, that was not the impression I took away when I sat down and listened to those 3 meeting recordings. What I observed was questions from the committee that were limited to basically questions of fact, or what might more aptly be described as questions of curiosity. For example, how old was the plaintiff? What time of day did the event occur? What were the extent of injuries? How much are the medical expenses? Who's the opposing counsel, et cetera, et cetera. These questions, in my opinion, do not seek to advance the performance of our legal counsel or protect the interests of the city to ongoing litigation. The one exception was an interaction that I would characterize as an experiential offering by a legal committee member. He shared a story about a negotiation strategy that they experienced, which was contrary to a typical strategy. It was the one example of an interaction that moved me to think the committee members might have stimulated our attorneys to either confirm or think differently about their approach. Although in this particular case, the city attorney did state that she too had experienced such a strategy. When I asked my interview subject if other similar experiential comments were ever offered in other meetings, they could only come up with one, involving an asbestos case to which we are a participant in a class action. I would classify, therefore, the interactions during executive sessions to be more mundane or routine in nature and not overly helpful to meeting the objectives of the committee's purpose as stated in the ordinance. When I asked staff and attorneys if the observations I developed based on just my 3 meeting listening exercises would be reflective of other meetings, they all agreed. I then asked our attorneys what internal practices they have within their firm to self-check and or strengthen their legal strategies, ensure that they are properly informed about a particular matter that may be before the city. Ms. Tappendorf indicated that she has access to in-house legal department whenever she wishes to run ideas up the flagpole and or strategize with other attorneys, and that she also has access to an owners committee within the firm to do the same. As such, Ms. Tappendorf has access to the types of resources that the legal committee has cited to offer. Her interactions with these resources, as well as other preparatory work required to prepare for defense of a claim or litigation, were never queried by the legal committee members. However, if we value some oversight to ensure compliance with the city's litigation management guidelines, as stipulated in the first and second items of the committee's purpose as outlined in the ordinance, then I recommend that the City Council request an annual debrief on ongoing non-IRMA related litigation with specifics given to Ansel Glick's policies and practices for ensuring that they are delivering the highest level of work product on behalf of the city. Before concluding my remarks, I wanted to also share one more item that I uncovered through my listening exercises. During one interaction regarding a trip and fall claim that was handled by IRMA, City Manager Wisha commented that IRMA assisted staff with a post-litigation review of our code documents and policies for addressing infrastructure risks such as sidewalk displacements that have the potential to be a trip and fall hazard. He further commented that staff routinely discusses the importance of timely follow-up to any reported infrastructure defects, such as when maybe a stop sign gets run over or a traffic light is out, there's a pothole somewhere, or any other defect that could be present and represent a hazard to the public. His comments were interesting because they relate to risk mitigation efforts by the city to prevent future accidents, injury, etc., which in turn reduces our risk to litigation and/or claims. While such risk mitigation strategies and policy reviews have not been conducted or instigated by the legal committee, they seem to me to be a natural outcome of any post-litigation or claims lesson learned discussion, which I believe should fall under the ownership of the city manager as he serves as the chief executive of our staff. As such, I would offer that the mayor consider asking for an annual report on risk mitigation measures undertaken by the city in response to or as preparatory to avoid future litigation or claims. Such a report could be made under the context of the city manager's annual review discussion with city council or offered by the city manager as his comments at a council meeting. So, in conclusion, while I am in favor of disbanding the legal committee, I offer two follow-up actions that the city council could take to minimize the impact of this amendment. This, along with the duties that are already handled by the Finance Committee and others, ensure that the perceived benefits of the legal committee continue beyond its disbandment. These two follow-up action items include an annual report by the city attorney, which I just mentioned, and an annual report by the city manager regarding risk mitigation measures or lessons learned that seek to limit future actions against the city. I'm not advocating for any formal action on those two items this evening, but I am asking for you to join me in approving the amendment. Thank you, Mayor, for my time.
Are there others that would like to comment? Alderman Novit.
I just procedurally, do you want us to comment before public comment, or do you want public comment first?
No, I think we should have our discussion.
Okay.
If you'd like, after
No,
public
I'm
commentary, we can,
happy to go
you all can make more comments.
Not a problem. Well, I started by saying, first I want to thank the residents who spoke up tonight. I'm thanking the residents that I anticipate are going to speak up tonight, and also those who sent letters and emails clarifying their opposition to the motion we are considering. I'm not in favor of dissolving the legal committee. As you've already heard from our comments, or have heard along the way, I guess, this is bigger than the role of the legal committees that the legal committee specifically plays in our city government. The mere existence of the committee, like the other advisory boards and commissions, furthers the city's commitment to provide transparency, accountability, and most importantly, community involvement in our government. As a legal advisory group, the committee is a value add because it also serves to support the ethical standards and public trust we all expect. Additionally, due to the fact that the committee consists of practicing attorneys with subject matter expertise, the community benefits from the input of their practical experience when evaluating legal strategies and potential conflicts of interest. This policy is evident throughout the documents that govern our city. For example, our mission statement emphasizes the importance of active citizen involvement as essential to democracy and good government. We as a council should also consider the institutional history that continually serving members of the committee bring to the advisory process. Ad hoc committees, which have been utilized extensively by the city, are great for individual projects. But when it comes to practices over time, committee members who have served over the course of time can offer nuanced input based on past decisions and experiences. Finally, the utilization of the committee also needs to be considered. The current ordinance provides opportunities for the mayor, city council, and city manager to assign additional responsibilities beyond the work currently being done by the legal committee. The fact that that is not being utilized now doesn't mean that a future council, a future mayor, or a future city manager wouldn't want to have the same opportunity to utilize it. I think it would be short-sighted to disregard this potential opportunity to benefit Lake Forest with these citizen volunteers. So I don't support the motion.
Very good. Are there others that would like to comment? Okay. Alderman Powell.
I'll comment, and I'll be brief. I think we have an incredibly capable city manager that serves as our CEO. I think we have hired legal counsel in Ansel Glick that serves us incredibly well, and I have no reason to not believe they won't continue to do that. And then ultimately, as I commented in our last meeting, we're the ones held accountable. So I'm in favor of dismantling the committee, and would make ourselves available to the community at any time should there be any questions or concerns.
Are there others? Okay, at this time, we'll begin public comment. And I have some here, so I'm just gonna pick them one at a time. It's random. So the first is Joanne Desmond. Would you like to come up to the dais and present?
Thank you. Joanne Desmond, 1681 Yale Court. I would like to express my strong objection to the proposed action item regarding the consideration of an ordinance amendment of the Lake Forest relating to the legal committee. I believe that this proposal represents yet another attempt to diminish citizen participation in our local government. The recent elimination of the Parks and Recreation Board left many residents feeling unheard and disenfranchised. As a member of our community, I value the engagement of citizens in local governance and the vital role that various committees and boards play in benefiting our city with local expertise and ensuring the diverse voices and are represented in decision-making processes. The legal committee served an important function in providing oversight and guidance on legal matters that affect our community. Any efforts to alter its structure or purpose should be approached with caution and with full consideration of the potential impact on citizen involvement and transparency. I urge you to vote no on this proposal and to prioritize the inclusion of community voices in our local governance. It is essential that we maintain avenues for residents to engage with and influence the decisions that affect our lives. The expertise of volunteer members of the legal committee gives the tax-paying residents of our community comfort and trust in knowing that our legal and fiscal interests are best served through this oversight. I hope to see a commitment by this city council to preserve participation in our local government by not eliminating the legal committee. Thank you very much.
Next on the list is former Mayor Mike Rummel.
Good evening. First, I want to thank you all for your service. I know how tough it is to be up there. I know the hours you put in, so thank you for what you do. You also gave an honorarium to Jack tonight, who was my mentor. And Jack taught me one thing before I became mayor, which was the community is your asset. The community is the important person here. And when you can always rely on them to do a job for you. He created a finance committee when we were having a finance group when we were having troubles. They spent a year, gave us all sorts of recommendations. We have a wonderful community with a lot of talent in it. When I first became mayor, we had a lot of illegal bills. And the question I had was, gee, are these worth fighting or not worth fighting? What's the answer to the question? So I created the legal committee to give me the answer to the question. Do we fight these or don't we fight these? The legal bills got cut in half within the first year. One, because people knew we had a legal committee they were going to. But two, the losers, we got out of immediately. We settled. The winners, we fought them and ended up fighting them well. So I believe that the legal committee served a purpose. Each council has its own ethos. I certainly don't question the mayor in looking at this and deciding, yes or no, we're going to do this. But I do look at the population and say, do they want to know that there's transparency? Do they want to know we're doing the right thing? We had a large workers' comp claim, and everybody heard it and said, oh, that guy isn't worth that. He should. Hey, legal committee, is this claim within the limits of the law of the state of Illinois? The answer was simple, yes. So now I could proudly go to people who asked the question and say, we had this reviewed, and the legal committee agreed that this was a good thing to settle. So it serves a purpose in serving as a advisor to you. If you don't think that's important now, then that's fine. That's your decision as a council. But I just wanted to say where it came from, how we got here, and what I was trying to achieve by starting this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Joy Guscott Mueller, immediate past chairman of the legal committee.
Good evening, Mayor, alderpersons. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am Joy Guscott Mueller, a resident of the 3rd Ward for over 30 years, a past school board member for District 67, and current chair of the legal committee. While I have fulfilled my 6-year term, I was asked by the city and agreed to continue serving until a replacement is identified. Following the April 21st, 2025 City Council meeting, citizen attorney members of the legal committee, for the first time, learned of the proposal presented to dissolve the City of Lake Forest Legal Committee. Prior to that time, neither the chair nor members of the committee, other than the alderman liaison, were informed or aware that such a proposal was under consideration, with some members first learning of the proposal and April 21 action from members of the public several days after the first reading vote. For the record, please note the following. No attorney member of the committee has come out in support of dissolving the legal committee. Each citizen attorney member of the committee considers their time and work on the committee to be valuable and meaningful. Even more important, however, is the value of the legal committee to the city as part of a carefully considered and designed oversight system designed by predecessor city council members to manage legal affairs and issues confronting the city of Lake Forest. As you've just heard, the legal committee was formed in 2005 following a lengthy and costly legal dispute with McDonald's Corporation. The council at that time was seeking to prevent a recurrence of such a circumstance by forming a small advisory committee comprised of citizen attorneys, along with staff, outside counsel, a city council liaison, and the mayor to review and monitor legal claims filed against the city, receive updates from outside counsel related to litigation management, and review the legal budget component of the city's overall budget. The committee does not review invoices from outside counsel. The committee has also worked with outside counsel to update and revise the city ethics ordinance to comply and be consistent with the state ethics requirement. Importantly, over the last several years, the city has seen a decrease in spending or anticipated litigation and a corresponding decrease in the legal budget, which reflects the effectiveness and success of the current risk management function and oversight that the committee provides. The impact of the committee is the proverbial dog that doesn't bark. To dissolve this committee after 20 years and return to a diminished oversight system runs counter to the efforts of this city to avoid costly mistakes and focus on preventive practice. The fact that the system is working to decrease the number of legal cases and costs is evidence that the committee system should continue so as to maintain this fiscal stability. The advisory work of the legal committee, when combined with the work of city council, staff, and outside counsel, provides a system of checks and balances within the structure of city government. Highly successful and effective attorney citizens have brought rigor and insight into the oversight process. And I would respectfully suggest that a review of 3 or 4 of the more than 80 meetings that have taken place in the last 20 years is not going to accurately reflect the importance of the oversight function. As to the issue of having outside counsel, what many of the North Shore communities have that we don't have is an in-house law department that serves as a general counsel function. It is in that way that they have the oversight over what takes place with outside counsel to ensure fiscal responsibility. So I encourage you to please vote no on the proposed revisions regarding dissolution of the legal committee. And again, thank you for your service. Having served on the school board for 8 years, I know what a heavy lift it is, and I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. The next presenter will be Prue Beidler.
Thank you, Mayor Tack and members of the City Council. I appreciate the time to speak with you, and I appreciate your service as well. My name is Prue Beidler. I've been a Lake Forest resident for almost 50 years. This community is where my husband Frank grew up and where we raised our children. For decades, I volunteered in this community for multiple organizations, including fundraising for public-private partnerships, serving on the Cemetery Commission for 6 years, and serving on the City Council for 6 years. I speak tonight on the matter of the disbanding of city boards and commissions. Because I have decades of experience serving with volunteer boards, besides my work within Lake Forest, I know how to recognize red flags within organizations when they arise. I believe in speaking up when I'm worried. Right now, I am worried about the Lake Forest city government, and in particular, the plan before the City Council to disband the legal committee. Throughout my work with organizations, I pay close attention to precedent. When something arises that has no relevant precedent, my attention is heightened. This is of enormous concern and raises the question of why this is happening now. And no, I do not consider the recent abolition of the Parks and Rec Board an appropriate precedent for what's happening or trying to happen tonight. Additionally, I believe that our city's many board and commission members offer both expertise and fresh perspectives which provide great benefit to the city. Decreasing the number of people offering expertise and perspective is not a good idea. As an alderman, I know how much I depended on the depth of knowledge brought to us by board and commission members. It's too late for the Parks and Rec Board, I realize that, but it's not too late for the legal. Disbanding this committee implies that legal scrutiny doesn't matter, a view few of us would share. I think I am among many in Lake Forest who view this as a red flag. It's very much worthy of our concern and very much worthy of yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next presenter will be Mr. Mertes.
Thank you. Art Mertes, 450 Washington Road. You know, this is an issue that I really said at the outset of when it arose that I just don't have a dog in this fight. I really don't. And then as I examined it more deeply and more deeply and more deeply, I really had to question the motivations behind something that is a free offering of the community, which provides a direct line of communication to our city government that we have elected. And then I was putting myself through a lot of introspective analysis about what I examine in the city. So, Alderman Walther, I appreciate that you've done some due diligence. You never talked with anybody from the legal committee. And had you might have honed in on some other meetings. One other meeting in particular that has gone without mention here is a meeting that occurred shortly after the death of Peter Rukavina. That was one of the biggest tragedies that I've ever seen or heard about from the city of Lake Forest. As a result of our concern at the legal committee member level, in the open session, so I'm not talking about the closed session, there was a great deal expressed about our concern that we adhere to much higher standards. And let me read for you, and I do wish that I had the opportunity to read my entire 17-page letter, like Alderman Walther has had the opportunity to read his due diligence. We were given very short notice of this meeting. But albeit that, as determined by the committee from time to time, suggest improvements to the city's ordinances, practices, procedures, and decision-making. So one of the things on our radar has been beach safety. Now, does that fall within the purview of the standard meeting minutes of the legal committee? Absolutely not, because I think it has turned into something perfunctory. I agree with you. However, I think you went to the wrong meeting minutes. And a young man, I believe he was 17 years old, died on our city beach. That caused us to question what types of signage and safety measures we might be able to take. I did a little more investigation. Another person that cast off from our beach perished in 2024, October 2024, Christian Mattis. We've had 2 deaths under the watch of all of those in our government that have said that they have this all under control. Not only that, but then let's look at what else popped up in my examination of what's going on in the community. In 2023, we had a coach, which the legal committee was not made aware of, arrested, a coach of our 12-year-olds who was arrested for child pornography. And that was somebody that was guiding and exposed to our 12-year-olds. And then only recently, we have the Mets whistleblower issue that I believe the community is now aware of. And if they're not, they should be. And what I have to tell you here, because I could go through the 17 pages and each of the principles that Mayor Tack has raised in support of redundancy and that there's no meaningful work here, but I have to say, I think this is so short-sighted, and moreover, the analysis that you're doing here misses the mark. When you look at the city principles, you're not supposed to be looking at, oh, what each of you can do and that you've got this under control and yeah, we've got a council that does this. You're supposed to be looking out at the future, decades into the future, for what leadership, good, bad, experienced, different experienced, might need in difficult situations. And I believe that there has been a perhaps conscious effort to undermine the things that the legal committee really under the ordinance, if you really read it, is charged with. And I'll add one more, which is when we look at ordinances that have been passed or about to be passed, if that's going to be the case, the legal committee was never consulted for their input. Now, it's incumbent upon really the mayor, if he's the person attending the meeting, or somebody from city council to ask us to provide some input. But let's talk about a few ordinances. Parks and Rec. Lots of people upset about Parks and Rec.
I appreciate all of the effort into this, but everybody else has been held to a 3-minute standard. I've now let you go over by more than 3 minutes 2 times. Are you about ready to wind up this? We all received your 17 pages. I've read it. I assume the other aldermen have read it. I think this, there's nothing special about the circumstance here, okay? You're bringing in cases that shouldn't be discussed here. That's inappropriate. And
I disagree.
I ask you, can you finish up in the next minute or so?
I will try.
No, you will, because there has to be a limit. And for somebody who's very focused on procedure, you seem to be very focused on playing fast and loose with the established procedure.
Mayor, that's untrue. And what I'm focused on is the fact that the legal committee was excluded from providing input in a meaningful way to this very motion, and the exclusion was intentional. I'm sorry, but I can't see it any other way. So what I'm trying to do, and what I have tried to do, is reach out to community members and reach out to folks that know you in the hopes that maybe we could have a dialogue. That hasn't been able to happen, apparently, and I thought that there was going to be a more meaningful process along the way where that could happen. But I'll point to the safety and concern that I have for the concern for the safety of our youngsters. And so we've had multiple ordinances that the legal committee has been skipped for their input, but one sticks out, and it sticks out because I have young children, and it's the scooter ordinance. And had we had the opportunity to provide the input on the scooter ordinance, we might have noticed that there is just one big red blackout square for kids, and we don't even have bike lanes. Now, I'm not here to negotiate the scooter ordinance. My point is that there has been just a real disregard for what the legal committee can provide. And you're using that to justify disbandment of the legal committee. I don't think it's right, okay? But I have spent dozens of hours, way more time than the time required to be on the legal committee and serve on the legal committee. And I've done that because I care about this community. I care about our children. I care about the well-being of the entire community, and I think that you all really need to do some self-reflection about why this seems so important, because I don't think it is, to carry it out to this degree. I don't see it. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you do, but this is a very difficult issue.
Thank you very much. All right, the next presenter is Lori Thuente.
Hello, I'm actually Lori Tinty, not Lori Thuente.
Oh, I apologize.
I'm speaking on 2 perspectives tonight. One is from the League of Women Voters. I would like to just bring your attention back to the letter that you have received on May 7th from Carol Russ, our president. The League of Women Voters, Lake Forest, Lake Bluff area is distressed at the news that the Lake Forest Parks and Recreation Board has been abruptly abolished. A first reading on April 21st, followed by a second reading and vote on May 5th, successfully terminating this advisory body with minimal public discussion. The legal committee was also on the chopping block, slated for dissolution in the April 21st reading, but not included in the May 5th vote. While minimal notice of the pending action was given, the speed of the vote precluded significant community input in advance of this action. Why is this a concern? Democratic government requires timely communication. A sudden, unexpected, and significant change with minimal notice limits residents' opportunity to participate in their own government. The city wrote in its e-news 4 days after the first reading that the change will streamline communication between staff and the city council. While this may be true, a parallel concern might be that the elimination of the city advisory board could set aside the communication between city government and the citizens it represents. The League of Women Voters believes that the democratic government depends upon informed and active participation in government and requires that governmental bodies protect the citizens' right to know by giving adequate notice of proposed actions, holding open meetings, and making public records accessible. In this case, many well-placed and well-informed community members were unaware of this change. Public confidence in government requires mutual trust. We respectfully state that open discussion and timely communication in advance of significant actions are always the best policy. Sincerely, Carol Russ, President. Now, speaking personally, I find it incredibly disrespectful that our elected representatives continue to try to dismantle the checks and balances that reign in their power. My second comment is, why wouldn't you ask the committee members if their committee should be dismantled? They're volunteers. If they feel that they're adding value, why would you tell them that they're not needed? And lastly, while this city manager may be exemplary, and I have found you to be, I think that many of us remember City Manager Robert Keeley in the indictment of 2019. Thank you.
And he was found innocent on that, so that case was dropped. All right. The next is Susan Garrett.
Mayor and members of the City Council. On Monday, May 5th, many of us stood before you and asked that you reconsider your motion to disband the legal committee. We were gratified when council members unanimously voted to table the motion. Now, over 2 months later, the same vote is scheduled to take place, with little notice and no obvious rationale for terminating this important committee. And so here we are again, asking you to reconsider this motion and to vote to keep the committee in place. While the public has not been given a description of how the matters routinely reviewed by the legal committee would be handled going forward, it appears legal matters would be without independent review or reviewed by ad hoc committees comprised of city council members or attorneys at Ansel Glink, which of course would add to the hefty price tag. And these ad hoc subcommittees would most likely become the alternative to the work of the independent, and I'm going to underline independent, legal committee. This begs the question, why dissolve the city's independent legal committee after they have been an integral part of our city government for decades? The answer: the legal committee's work has been deemed to be redundant, we hear, with no meaningful work to do. So why do so many value having an independent review of legal matters in Lake Forest? One, independent reviews provide checks and balances. It allows for consideration of differing perspectives. Three, independent reviews amount to monitoring and oversight, providing additional and necessary layers of scrutiny. And it facilitates one of the most important values in government, and that is transparency. The legal committee does not get paid and is comprised of highly respected attorneys, all residents of the city. Each of these volunteers has only the best interests of our community in mind. They provide an extra layer of oversight, perspective, and transparency, all benefiting our citizens and taxpayers. Tonight, I and many others are asking you once again, please do not dissolve this valuable committee. It has been in place for decades. Its highly professional and volunteer oversight can only be positive for all Lake Foresters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next will be Ray Bushman.
Mr. Mayor, alderpersons, my name is Ray Bushman, 977 Kirkhill Lane. I've lived in Lake Forest for 30 years, more than half of them spent here as a volunteer doing different functions. When this matter came up in May, I did submit written comments captioned "The Legal Committee, yes or no, some comments based on some experience." I also yesterday submitted additional comments in an email, and hopefully you've had a chance to review that. As I said in my comments, I'm offering it as a person with some experience dealing with the Legal Committee. In 2009, after I completed serving the full term on the city's Building Review Board as its chairman, I was promptly appointed to the Legal Committee. It was a relatively new committee. At that time, I served the maximum 6 years on that committee, including half of them, the latter half, as chairman. I think I was the second chairman of the Legal Committee. I also then served as an alderman. And as an alderman, over the 6 years I served, I was council liaison to the Legal Committee along with Alderman Rummel. We typically rotated there. But at that time, again, I had experience of sitting in the meetings, not just the regular sessions, but the executives. And I find it curious that during the time I served, whether as a liaison or on the committee itself, I never heard anyone question the effectiveness of the committee, the worth of the committee, the need for the committee. No one ever questioned it, and I think you've heard the testimony now from Joy and Art that even the current committee thinks they do a wonderful service for this city. Doesn't that ring in your mind why we're saying that the people that have been on the front line are saying that keep the committee, and you're saying, no, you want to do away with it. I appreciate due diligence. I've done a lot of due diligence in my life. My background is I've served for a Fortune 500 company responsible for the legal affairs of the Fortune 500 company and for the outside counsel. So I understand managing outside counsel and legal affairs. But yet, and you have from the people on the front line, not doing the due diligence, not listening to a couple meetings, how important they feel it is. I hope you realize that because the public realizes that. And be careful how you vote because you do want to take into account the feelings of the public. I shall assume that you read my May comments, and I ended the comments by asking the basic question, whether the Legal Committee existence is justified. The answer I said, and I still believe true today, it's absolutely needed and justified if you recognize its value as a unique body of expertise, a sort of legal brain trust that should be a welcoming resource to the city staff, to the city attorney, to the city council, and to the public. Knowing its existence can provide meaningful and timely response when time may be critical, that can be a very useful sounding board that could be providing input independent from political influence and a body that can provide an important check and balance in the management of our legal affairs. This oversight function could prove invaluable. And let's keep in mind the thought that, the person that protests the most in having oversight may need the oversight the most. Hopefully, if you decide that you still need and want a legal committee, but your job doesn't end then, I just have a couple more comments. You have to assume that it is staffed with knowledgeable, independent-minded attorneys from various backgrounds. For the legal committee to have the value and effectiveness wanted, its composition is important. In the past, it has worked well with the caucus vetting and selecting diverse and dedicated candidates, keeping the selection non-political and non-binding. Thank you, Regina, for the caucus. And a second essential element for an effective legal committee is meaningful engagement. In the agenda's write-up, your write-up, the claim is made that the legal committee's role and relevance was, quote, diminished, end of quote. Since legal concerns and the legal work for a municipality like Lake Forest, I can't believe has diminished. If anything, it has taken on greater importance. I'd argue, that the impact over the years has been something that we have to pay more and more attention to And that if that's the case, that you view that its role is diminished, that means it's being underutilized. You need to use it, like in the past, to review and discuss legal costs. We spent time, 6 years there, we spent a lot of time doing the accounting there and going through legal costs whenever we had a meeting, and had this good discussion on it. Legal concerns, disputes, contractual obligations, compliance issues, review your codes, ordinances, a lot of correction needs to be made in these things. In conclusion, the City of Lake Forest needs and deserves a well-qualified and utilized legal committee. Keep in mind, when you need the oversight and it's not there because of your vote tonight, the damage could be irreparable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bushman. The Honorable Judge Joseph R. Waldeck.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for having me. I have a few notes that I've written, but I'm really going to kind of not repeat what other people have said about the legal committee. First of all, my name is Joseph R. Waldeck, 184 Washington Road in Lake Forest, Illinois. I am a former member of the legal committee and a former chairman of the legal committee as well. And what I have to say, when I was getting ready to make my comments tonight, someone said, well, why don't you reach out to your friends and call them who represent other municipalities and see whether or not they have a legal committee. And I thought about that, and I thought that would be a good idea until I really thought about what we really are all about here in Lake Forest. And we shouldn't judge and make our standards based upon what other communities do, because we're different. And I think that other people look up to us because other communities, because we do have a legal committee, that we recognize that there is citizen input that's important to making these decisions that come before the City Council. And when I look at City Council, and under the proposal, all those issues from the legal committee will now be transferred to the City Council. As I understand it, there's only one lawyer amongst all of you. In the legal committee, we're all lawyers, and we only offered advice. What this is really about is we served, at least what I thought, as a sounding board, a system of checks and balances, and a review of all the legal affairs that were going on before the city. But what we really have here today is what we're talking about is the buzzword that everybody's talking about, and that's transparency. And we always want to be transparent about what we do, and never has it been more important than in the issue of legal field. So I ask you to think about your decision, and somebody else mentioned it before. It's not for today. It's for the generations that are going to come in the years when we're not here, when we're in that cemetery that John Anderson was talking about. So anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope that you think about your vote.
Thanks, Judge. Is there anybody else that would like to address the committee on this matter? Yes, please feel free to come up.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. For once, I'm not going to be poly-positive. I wholeheartedly concur with everyone who so graciously entered their comments, thoughts, and ideas. And of course, I completely concur with Alderman Novitz. One thing, she's the only one here who is a lawyer, and from my experience, if I ignore what a lawyer tells me to do or suggests I do, it's a big problem. And also an experience in a lot of volunteer organizations and leadership and those things. If you've got people who are willing to step up and spend their time, take advantage. I don't understand why we shouldn't, but that's my opinion. But again, I'm so against this, and I would appreciate if you all would agree with your council member and those of us who stood up. So thank you very much.
Very good, thank you so much. Are there others? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Kobe Stein, 1190 Estes. I'd like to point out the gentleman with the glasses up on his face, the attorney, because I'm a big believer in bylaws, et cetera. And what I want to just bring forward, perhaps you can say something more about it. I don't think this whole process has been followed by the way of bylaws. And you correct me if I'm wrong. But somehow this whole procedure has not gone as it should, in my understanding.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council? Okay, so there's been some discussion about having another discussion among council members. Are there any other comments from councilmen in response? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had several conversations with individually with some of our council members. I've read all of the emails that have been sent, some today. It's always difficult to get a lengthy report on the day of a meeting with those of us who volunteer our time here and have a career and families and young children and care about safety. But I do my best, and I make sure I spend the extra time to make these difficult decisions. As a former caucus president, I know the time and effort and energy through the interview processes that we take to find the best candidates to make these boards and commissions run so smoothly. First off, I want to thank those of you who've been serving on the legal committee. It's been wonderful. I also know the makeup of councils and how those backgrounds and experience have changed, where I've served at one time with 3 attorneys. And that's different than running with 1 attorney. We all bring different strengths to the dais, and that's what makes Lake Forest special. I have been on the fence of this issue. Number 1, if you have volunteers willing to serve, let them serve. But if our leadership and the nature of the cases that we're experiencing don't meet the need to meet, then why go through the process of finding these wonderful qualified candidates to sit and have meeting after meeting canceled? Okay? So there's something about having a feel-good committee, and there's something about having a working committee. I'm not the mayor, so I'm not here to decide how the cases are brought forth. What my role is, though, is your finance committee chair. And I do go through those invoices. And I've received emails that have shared the finance committee chair doesn't have the experience to read through the invoices. Well, that's not true. I am qualified to read through those invoices, and I see things and I ask questions. And that's what oversight and that's what transparency is. Someone who's willing to put the time in to read and ask questions. I also really appreciate the due diligence that Alderman Walters put in, and I've had conversations with him with his experiences. It's difficult when you don't serve on a committee like legal, but I've served on a lot of other committees, and I'm hearing some comments that's insulting. I don't mean to insult any of you. That's not my intention. My intention is simply to share my comments, and that's what we're here to do, is to share our comments and have a deliberation. And I'd now like to offer it up to someone else to share theirs.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to
Alderman
chime
Nelson.
in. Yeah, a lot of you who came to the dais, I know personally and have tremendous respect for your opinions. At the end of the day, the city council has been elected, democratically elected by all of us residents to represent your interests in assessing all of these matters. So when you're talking about oversight, you have elected us to be that oversight. We have policies and procedures in place that address singularly every issue that's been raised, whether it's the audit committee responsible for ethics matters, and that then comes to us. We have really thoroughly, and ethics matters, I think, are paramount to everybody on this board, as residents and as individuals who are representing you. We don't take that lightly. There was concern that the council has rushed this to judgment. It was everyone who came up and spoke in front of us a month ago that really took us all to sit back and really discern the feedback you gave us. We really took that to heart. And we spent this time since then really understanding the matters that we're taking into consideration. So please don't suggest we're jumping to conclusions and rushing this process, because that's 100% not the case. Last and certainly not least, to Alderman Weber's point, this city has a $150 million out budget that we scrutinize in and out. To say we are unable to analyze a legal budget or legal invoices, again, to Alderman Weber's point, is insulting, because that's suggesting we're not capable of managing the finances of the whole city picture. Long and short, Mayor, I fully support the decision. I think, and I also want to use this opportunity to commend Alderman Walters for the extraordinary time that you spent really getting our hands around that, certainly reaffirming everything that we all understood coming into this. We all have come from boards and commissions that have served the city. We all want to feel that our opinions and our input are being utilized and appreciated. And if the decision, and if the circumstances are that we're not utilizing individuals to their fullest capability, serving in the capacity on, and specifically in this case, the legal committee, there are myriads of ways, as Alderman Walters pointed out, that we can fill in those gaps without compromising the quality of service that this board is giving to the community. And the mayor also has the prerogative to appoint ad hoc committees if there are bigger issues that we need to fulfill. I'm very comfortable supporting this recommendation.
Are there others? Okay. I'm just going to make a final comment. To the best of my ability, I have brought this forward and followed the processes of city government, and at no point in time have I been informed by the city attorneys that there's something fundamentally flawed with the process. And I think that people need to know and understand that we do have procedures, we do follow them, and if in fact this was not coming forth in the proper manner, the city attorneys would have let me know that we needed to do something different. That has occurred previously. That's not my specialty. That being said, I'd like to address former Mayor Rummel a little bit, because the world that he worked in as a mayor, very different than the world we live in today. Just as when I became a practicing orthopedic surgeon, I did everything. I did spine surgery, hand surgery, trauma surgery, because that's what I was trained to do, and that's what I was expected to do when I entered practice. When I first came to Lake Forest, we had a mom and pop law firm representing Lake Forest. I don't remember the names, but I remember it was pretty provincial. And it led to many of the things that have been referred to, and Mike knows what I'm talking about. The city hasn't had a great history related to litigation. McDonald's, I was in medical school at the time, but I knew all about it. I mean, everybody loved beating up on Lake Forest about McDonald's, because it was a decision that the council made contrary to the recommendations from their attorneys, by the way, that led to ill-advised litigation and an expensive settlement. That wasn't, we didn't learn everything from that one. We've done the same thing subsequently. We've entered into litigation that we knew we were going to lose and had to settle very recently. As to other advice that one would think would come forward related to things like federal preemptions relating to railroad traffic and cell towers and health safety issues, there's been a relative radio silence. The legal representation we get through a firm like Ansel and Glink that specializes in municipal law is not anything like the legal representation that Mike Rummel had at the time he was the mayor. It's highly specialized. They know what they're doing. Nobody on our legal committee has the expertise in municipal law that these folks do or the resources. We now have IRMA that runs all of the personal injury related cases. And by the way, every IRMA case that we go through, at the conclusion of it, there's an educational component. They come back and talk to us about what we have in place that might have led to the situation that we had and what we can do going forward. And there were references to specific cases that, quite honestly, I don't think were really quite appropriate, but there were. And the fact of the matter is, IRMA is highly, highly specialized, and it is the city council that has to make the decision whether or not to approve recommended settlements. It's not the legal committee, regardless of what they tell you. And in my 8 years of doing this, I've never had a recommendation from the legal committee about how to settle a case. So that's just the situation. And again, it's not a personal thing. We appreciate all the volunteers who work for the city. As far as transparency, oversight, there's no government in the world that has more transparency than Lake Forest. You're all volunteers. And we're all volunteers. And we have no reason to do things that are nefarious. And this certainly is not something, as has been implied, that's nefarious. Or perhaps, you know, it's being brought forward by me because I have something that I want to avoid. So anyway, I think going forward we can look at this objectively. And remember this, our legal successes and the reduction in our legal expenses are because the systems that we have, which really are expertise of IRMA, Ansel Glink, and city policies and procedures, that's why that happened. There's this phrase that I love called post hoc ergo propter hoc. It's a fallacy of logic. This came after that, therefore, because of that. Oh, we had a legal committee, therefore all this good stuff happened, as if one had a relationship to the other, and the facts don't support that. So, for purposes of efficiency, eliminating redundancy, that's why the proposal is here, and at this time I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the proposal.
So moved.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Vosfeld.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walther.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Nay.
6 yea, 1 nay, motion.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
Before we move to the next agenda item, may I offer one word?
Sure.
I'd just like to offer my thanks to the members of the community who have come forward to offer their thoughts on this amendment. Their input was offered with the clear intent of seeking only the best for Lake Forest. At our May 5th meeting, several of the people who spoke and some of the people who spoke this evening offered that our two comments were offered in only the best interests of the city of Lake Forest. At the end of the day, we're neighbors working with neighbors to make the best possible governance for Lake Forest. So again, thank you to everyone in the community who participated. Thank you to my fellow board members. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. All right, we will move on to the next item, which is consideration of a recommendation from staff to authorize the city manager to enter into a professional services contract with Tesca Associates for the final phase of the update to the comprehensive land use plan in an amount not to exceed $55,000. This will be presented by Catherine Cerniak, and we'll hold on for a minute just to let everybody who wants to leave. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is a request to authorize the city manager to engage in a contract with Tesca Associates in the amount of $55,000, which is included in the approved budget for this year. for completion of the comprehensive plan update. Just to review, why update the comprehensive land use plan? Really to look forward, to pause, look at existing conditions, look at what's changed. We know that since the comprehensive plan was last updated, there is a lot more preserved open land. We know that we are now very nearly a built-out community. There isn't much raw land left that can be developed. We also, in recent years, have seen a change in our central business district. So it's really an opportunity to revisit, re-envision, appreciate what we have, look back, but also look forward, not just 5 years or 10 years, but look forward 20, 30, 40 years. To date, there's been a considerable amount of preliminary work done. The Waukegan Road Settler Square Business District was studied, and there were recommendations put forward and approved for that area. Some policies, some goals. Same thing for the Route 60 corridor, and more recently for the Central Business District. Those study areas really provide a strong foundation for now stepping back and looking at the whole community, looking at our land use designation map, again, incorporating the additional preserved open lands, looking at what residential housing types we have and what we might be missing, looking at those few areas that are left for development, the raw land, looking at whether those are environmentally sensitive areas, looking at updated information we have on floodplain, wetland areas, looking at our infrastructure and understanding whether we can easily serve or should serve those areas, whether we have street connections there. So not only looking at new development opportunities, but also, and importantly, looking at redevelopment opportunities. There was considerable discussion that came up during the Settler Square discussion, the Route 60 corridor, and the Central Business District. Do we want to encourage more multifamily development? If so, how much and where? We do know, I think we all know, that there are some sites in the community that are likely to see some redevelopment pressure. This will allow us to get ahead of proposals, to be proactive instead of reactive. So we will focus on updating land use designations, taking this opportunity to really knit, to tie all the pieces that have come before together to develop a final document that will be available electronically. Comprehensive plan updates, from a legal perspective, need to go before the Plan Commission for a public hearing. Two of the phases, the Settler Square and the Central Business District, involved an extra step. We brought in a city manager's working group, city manager appointed working group. We were really able to, in those earlier ones, bring in people with a variety of perspectives. As currently proposed, the city manager's working group for this final chapter includes people with a variety of perspectives, a developer, preservation background, people who have been on various boards and commissions, not only the land use development boards and commissions, but also the library board, Parks and Rec, bringing in people from different parts of the community. And this group doesn't have decision-making authority, but importantly, they will be present at workshops. They will review early drafts to provide guidance to both the consultant and to city staff, and they will do a great deal of work before this ever gets before the Plan Commission for formal public hearings. As we've done with the earlier sessions, we encourage people to give us their name so they can be on an interested parties list and keep informed, conduct workshops, surveys. Tesca Associates has been instrumental in the earlier phases in really doing a great effort at reaching out to the community, conducting individual interviews, focus groups, handling working groups. We had a a working group presence at one of the concerts in the square, so looking at different ways to engage the community. There will be, as in the past, a project website specific for this project that will allow people to have opportunities to comment on maps. As this group begins to identify their scope of work, we will have an initial workshop to really hear from people, hopefully throughout the community, about their concerns, about different areas in all 4 wards that have development opportunities or redevelopment opportunities. So what's before you tonight is a request to consider a recommendation to authorize the city manager to expend already budgeted funds to allow us to complete the update to the city's comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Kathy. And I'd just like to say that as this is proposed with the working group, this is another example of transparency in government and how we incorporate that at the very beginning of the planning process. And it even gets bigger as the process goes on with community input. And that seems to be the standard for how we do these projects. So are there comments by aldermen? Questions for Kathy?
Kathy, my only question is, what's this last phase from a timing perspective? With everything else we have going on, I'm assuming this is for the future, but this group will be in existence for how long?
Thank you. As soon as I stopped talking, I realized I missed that part. The working group is anticipated to finish their work by the end of this calendar year, and then we will move into public hearings before the Plan Commission. I would anticipate a couple of those, probably an early introduction to the Plan Commission. Plan Commission meetings are televised, and then further discussion by the Plan Commission, and then a recommendation that would come before the City Council for final action. So working group complete its work by the end of this calendar year.
Thank you.
Okay, are there other questions or comments?
Yeah, Kathy, for this 55,000, you said it's in the budget. Was it in the budget for them or for a professional service organization? I mean,
It was identified in the budget to support completion of the comprehensive plan.
completed,
Tesca
that they
worked-
started?
Yes.
Okay.
Tesca's worked with us on the
Yeah, I really,
recent 2 phases, and they really have collected a great deal of data and have really begun to build the electronic document. So there is some real logic in continuing to engage them as we complete this work.
Okay. All right then, at this time I'd like to, is there public comment on the matter? No? Okay. This time I'd like to ask for a motion to approve consideration of an ordinance amending the City of Lake Forest Code. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. So I'm hung up on that, I guess. All right, here we go. Consideration of a recommendation from staff to authorize the city manager to enter into a professional services contract with Tesca Associates for the final phase of the update to the comprehensive land use plan in an amount not to exceed $55,000.
So moved.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Powers?
Aye.
Alderman Levert?
Aye.
Alderman Boswell?
Aye.
Alderman Weber?
Aye.
Alderman Walter?
Aye.
Alderman Novit?
Aye.
Alderman
Aye.
7 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. All right, next item is new business, of which there is none this evening. Item 8, additional items for discussion or comments by council members. Are there any other items you would like to discuss or comments you would like to make? Okay. Is that a yes?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, sir.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on. At this time, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.